The Smith and Weston Jury are an alt country duo from Melbourne with members Sam Lombardi and Simon Torcasio. They formed in 2018 and since then have been releasing singles and are now releasing their impressive debut album, Hotel Texas, which I'm going to talk to them about. Hello, Sam, and hello, Simon.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. Or perhaps I should have said hello, Smith and Weston Jury, but we'll get to the band name. I'd actually like to start with your respective musical backgrounds, which are not in country music. Now, Sam, you were a pop rock artist from your teens. I did find some evidence. You were maybe around 14 when you started.
Yeah. That's a long story. The short version is, I signed to my first manager when I was 14. And then I did solo music for a while. And I worked with an indie label in LA. Then I left the manager that I found when I was 14 because it ended up being a really typical music industry story where he was just a bit of a dropkick. I found a really good manager, and he was an amazing songwriter. He's actually known for songwriting. His name's Peter Rafelson. I worked with him for a few years. I signed to his indie label at the time, and I was solo for a long time. And then I kind of had enough of the solo thing, and then I ended up moving back to Sydney, and I was in a band there for a while, and finally me and Simon started writing music together. Even though we've been together for 15 years, we only kind of started to 16 years. Whoops. We only started to really write music together, properly and take it seriously a few years ago.
Yeah, right. Well, I will get to the genesis of your current band, but Simon, I did want to ask you about your punk rock background, because you are not the first, in fact, not even the second country music artist I've interviewed who has a background in punk. So I'm wondering if you miss it.
No, well, I'm not a punk rocker or anything like that, but that's what I grew up listening to. And that's just how it kind of happened. And then I feel like as I aged and the punk rock bands that I listened to aged, they all started to go a bit acoustic, and then they put in a pedal steel somewhere, and then it kind of just feels like home. But my background in music's not as gnarly as Sam's. I just played in a garage with my friends. That's all I did.
Yeah, right.
That was it.
I do think that the structure of punk songs is useful to know for anybody. Just like it's got to be so tight, and you've got to be able to hit your marks that you can translate that to other genres.
So true.
Yeah, having a pop writing background was really helpful because I did so many songwriting sessions with pop writers that it was an experience that, it was like nothing like it. So I learned so many valuable lessons in how to write like a catchy tune when I was so young, and it just really stuck with me. So even when we started writing together and it was more Simon's country kind of guitar influences, and we had kind of broadened everything we were listening to, and we were listening to a lot of country music, that mixed with our heavier listening background, mixed with my pop writing background, is kind of what created our sound now.
Yeah, and structure is such a fabulous thing to have behind you, because it is the thing that can be hardest to crack, because you can want to go meandering off into all sorts of areas. And pop as well is great for structure. So you talked about when you two started writing together and the music that Simon was listening to in particular. So Simon, what country music artists were you listening to at the time?
So I grew up with a lot of like Eagles in our house. So there was kind of like, I always had Eagles and I was always listening to them. But then so once I stopped playing in bands and stuff like that, I was like, I don't care about guitar. I don't want to play guitar anymore. It's too much hassle. No, there's no reward. I was knackered. I didn't want to play anymore. And then I started to I just started to listen to music again and get into guitar players.
Right. And
I kind of like stumbled across Dwight Yoakam. And then I heard how Pete Anderson plays with Dwight Yoakam, and I was like laughing at how he was like imitating pedal steel and runs that he was doing. And from the music that I was listening to, nothing sounded like that.
Yeah.
So then I started to just get into country guitar players, which is like the most crazy talented group of people in music.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of like grew from that. So it was kind of like,
yeah, he became obsessed with the guitar, not just like
Right.
more so than the music itself. Like
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else that's as obsessed with guitar as Simon. Like, just can't absorb enough of it, which is such a good thing to have.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, really. Yeah.
Well, except that on this album, there is a fantastic guitar sound. Like it's obviously more than one guitar playing at once, but the sound is really crisp on the recording, really clean and beautifully done. So that obsession's paid off, Simon.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the obsession.
So as you did start writing songs together, so Sam, you mentioned you were together for a while, but you didn't start writing songs until relatively recently. What prompted that?
Well, like Simon said, so we were both in other bands for a very long time. And then we kind of had enough of music and we were a bit sour about everything. Just because, I mean, nothing's changed. The music industry is very hard. And we'd kind of always on the side had played music together, but most of the time it was like covers and stuff. And then Simon had started listening to country. Then I kind of started listening to country. Then we started to travel together, and then we'd already, I remember, like, we'd play like Johnny Cash covers or Dwight Yoakam, and we started to learn the songs that we were listening to, and we would just play them for fun. And then I remember we holidayed we went to Texas and Nashville, and we went to like Robert's Western World, and we saw like this cover band, and we were like, we should actually do something about this. We got really inspired, going, we should actually, start writing properly and get these little ideas together and actually do something about it. So I think that was kind of the motivation that we needed to get us out of our slump and go, let's maybe give this a go again.
Yeah, because we're probably the only band that is inspired by a cover band. Everyone else,
I think it was their energy and just how, incredibly talented they were that inspired us again.
Yeah, but everyone wants to like one up each other and be like, I'll go to the source of it, like, who was Johnny Cash listening to? Like, that's what inspires us. And we're straight out like, we saw a cover band and it was insane.
Yeah,
it was crazy fun. It was so good.
And also the Smith and Wesson jury is the first time, because I mentioned I had that pop background, it's the first time that I've ever actually written songs and it be just us and no one else, and not had a producer or not had a co-writer going, oh no, but you should change this because this would be more commercial, or you should change that because this tagline would be better like this. And then we kind of started writing, and we're like, and these are my favorite songs I've ever written because of that,
Well, and it's all killer, no filler, I have to say on this. You're right to be proud of them, but I'm interested in that process when you are used to being in the room with someone else, when someone's telling you what to do, make it this, change it to that because it's more commercial. Is it hard to unlearn that kind of, I don't know, some like invisible person in your ear almost that you're so used to having, or an actual present person who's telling you things?
No, not really, because I guess the whole time I'd been writing, to start with, I'd been writing alone. So when I was working with Peter, he was in LA and I was back and forth, but one of the albums I did with him, we recorded over like, a lot of it was done over Skype. Like, we were talking and we'd talk about ideas and stuff, and then I would go over there for a month or two and we'd actually record, but a lot of the co-writing would happen over Skype. So I would always still start the song, but then he would, or not just him, other people too, other co-writes I did, but then they'd come in and suggest things or change things because commercially that would be, stronger and blah, blah, blah. But I always knew how to write a song on my own, start to finish. And even though I didn't necessarily agree with what that was saying, I was like, well, you have written a song for Madonna, so I guess I should listen to you. So it was that kind of thing. And but regardless of that, I mean, he's amazing and he's so talented, but it's just been nice to, do it all myself from scratch.
Yeah, because there is that element of, even though someone's written a song for Madonna, that's fine for Madonna, but these are songs for you, and you're the writer of the songs for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we want an intro that goes for 14 minutes,
Yeah, then we could do
then
whatever
we'll
we
do
want.
that. And Madonna can't say anything about it.
Yeah, particularly when you're producing the album yourself. So it sounds like when you started making music together, the sound you wanted came together relatively easily then. You didn't have to push and pull your way into something that made sense for you both.
No,
Yeah, no,
I think
not
it's
really.
and then learning like all those like guitar parts and really deep diving into that sort of 90s-ish Dwight Yoakam kind of stuff. It really like set us up for success, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think you can kind of hear that on the album. You can kind of hear some of the songs are a bit more, well, the way that I hear them, I don't know how other people hear them, but you can kind of, to me, you can kind of hear how some of the songs are a bit more like that Western vibe, which is more kind of a pop song mixed with Simon's kind of Western licks and maybe like a Western rhythm. And then there's other ones that are more like honky tonk inspired. Like you can tell that, like there's one on the record where I was listening to a lot of Loretta Lynn, and in my eyes, it's very inspired by her. So it kind of, it's definitely not one of those albums to me anyway, where all the songs sound the same. It's very kind of varied. But it sounds like the same band, I hope.
Yeah,
Yeah, some of them are a toe tapping good time on the honky tonk. So I'm curious now about how the band got its name, because I could hear a reference to Smith and Wesson, of course, but I'm wondering where it went to Smith and Wesson Jury.
So there's it's a Dwight Yoakam song. Like it's household.
It comes from a Dwight Yoakam song.
We are a Dwight Yoakam household here. It comes from a Dwight Yoakam song called
What I Don't Know.
Yeah, What I Don't Know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like after this, there's a solo, and then the first line, he comes in. It's like these Smith and Wesson Jury hold a real mean, nasty court or something. It's like a song about someone killing someone, then going to jail. And then I was like, oh, we should call the band the Smith and Wesson Jury, because that's what I thought he said. and then one of my friends was like, oh, that's like after the gun, right? And then I was like, nah, it's not after the gun, it's after a lyric, and I just heard the lyric wrong. And so yeah, it's from Dwight Yoakam.
Misheard lyric. And we thought it sounded cool, so we're like, why not?
Well, I've got to say, Western does have a cooler sound than Wesson. As from a beach point of view. And it's, got to think about those things.
And I think when we started the band, maybe like 6 months into it, or once we like released a song or two, someone Instagrammed us and was like, oh, your band name's after a Dwight Yoakam lyric. And I was like, no way, we can quit now. Like, done it.
Someone got it.
Someone like found the Easter egg, I think. But yeah.
But I was also thinking about what you said, Simon, about you're the only band that's been inspired by a covers band. The thing about a covers band, though, is that they probably know the songs of the bands they're covering better than the bands might, because they've had to really study them and find a way to interpret them so that their audience will respond to them. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
No. Well, we're having an interview with you, so I think we've done all right. Whether band or not, I think it's okay.
So after you started writing songs, did you begin to amass them? Like, you just going to write and write and write till you had a lot of songs, or were you actually thinking of an album and working towards that?
To be honest, we were just writing with no plan in place for a while. We've got 10 songs on the album because we had to save some money and save our pennies for a while so we could actually record them. But we could record 4 albums. We got so many songs.
Yeah,
I'm a bit obsessed with songwriting.
Sam's got another whole album sitting there that we kind of jam on, but just Sam and I jam on. But
I think
there's quite a few there.
It was probably when we decided we wanted to, get because it was just me and Simon for a long time, and then we were like, and we played a few gigs acoustically, and then we were like, oh, let's start playing with a bass player and a drummer, and then we were like, okay, let's actually start to get some stuff ready to record, and then we kind of went down that avenue, and then COVID happened, and then COVID was just like one big any opportunity. We didn't have anything else to do. I wrote so
Yeah.
many songs in COVID. So yeah.
Because we literally started the band. So Sam and I have always been writing music together, but like Sam said, we only kind of started taking it not seriously, but we were like, okay, this is the project we're going to work on. And that was kind of like in November and December of 20, what was it, 18? 19, I think. And then we were like, all right, we have all these songs and we'll go in and record an EP and literally start a band.
Yeah.
And then for like 3 years, we couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So we kind of did everything that we could when we were like out of lockdown. So we've got like, I think I said the other day to someone, it's like we had more video clips than we had ever played gigs.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we couldn't play gigs, but we could like record videos with our friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like we could do that sort of stuff. And we hadn't played one gig, but we had 2 official videos. Like,
yeah. And it was like we were recording video clips and it was like the 10-person limit and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
right.
so it was in the core of lockdown.
Yeah. It's all content, you know, you can use it.
oh, content is king, apparently.
Yeah.
Far out.
But given that you did have that many songs, how on earth did you choose which ones would go on the album?
I don't know. I think we both just know when there's a winner. You know, like, and also some songs I write and I'm like, yeah, it's a good song, but for whatever reason it doesn't stick with me. I feel like I could write like a few songs a day, but only some of them stick with me, and usually it's the ones that mean something.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing about Sam's songwriting is like, because we're together, it's literally every word and every line that Sam sings. Like, I know what she's talking about, or the person she's talking about, or the instance and when that song happened. And it's like, so for you to say that, it's like, yeah, it sticks with you. It's because it's real.
Yeah.
No like fictional characters. Like Hotel Texas is true from the first word kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that is a glorious song. It's the title song, but it's also the last song on the album. And it's a glorious way to go out. And I do understand that the state of Texas itself had a role to play in the recording of your album.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually flew over and we did the drums and bass here in Belgrave with Ben Edgar. And then me and Simon flew over to Texas and we recorded with a producer that is incredible. His name's Tommy Dedamore. He's a guy in his 60s and his knowledge for country music, he's a pedal steel player too. He's been producing for a very long time and his knowledge and ear for country music is just incredible. So to be able to record with someone like him was it was like the best experience of our lives. We were like, every day we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're getting to do this. It was just incredible. And he was so welcoming, and yeah, it was just something we won't ever forget.
Yeah.
It was just after kind of COVID, we wanted to go away like everyone. We had been wanting to go on a holiday for a while, and then we came out of all the lockdowns and everything, and we were like, well, why don't we just kind of combine a holiday and recording at the same time, you know, stuff it, why not?
Yeah, we literally waited like 3-4 years to do something with the band.
Yeah.
When we finally could, we were like, well, I feel like we've been doing this for long enough. Let's go to America, and like this could be one and done. This might be the last one. So it's like we may as well give it everything we've got, essentially.
You never know. We were in lockdown. We were like, what else is gonna happen?
Yeah.
You know?
But still, it can be really hard to hold your nerve with a creative project through not just the challenges of being in lockdown, but just time, you know, because it could have been any point at which you thought, oh, come on, like let's let it go and move on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing too with the jury. Like with us, it's like this band, we're not really, this is not meant to sound bad, but we're just doing it for us. We're doing it for fun, but like I was saying before, like especially in my previous stuff when I was writing and working with other people, it was always like, and probably the reason we were both sour, mostly me, it was always when I was younger, it was always like, this is your career and this is like, you know, what you're going to do with the rest of your life. So there was all that pressure of like, well, you have to do this because this is commercial and this makes money, and this is what's going to, you know, make you be able to survive one day. And then we both got a little sour about the music industry, and I was like, I've had enough of this crap. I don't want to do it. We both had a bit of a break. And then it was just like the mindset changed, and the whole motivation for writing and stuff was, that pressure was taken off. And now it's just for fun. And now it's like, well, yeah, like, you know, it's so much better, and there's no, I don't know. There is pressure, so it's, yeah.
Well, when I interviewed Tori Forsyth recently about her new album, she had made a decision that she would walk away from music entirely if she couldn't completely enjoy the process of making it, and making that decision freed her, because she was like, well, you know, this pressure is off. And there is certainly something in that it happens on a subconscious level almost, that the energy shifts around what you're doing, and then all sorts of things open up because you're just not gripping onto it so tightly anymore.
Yeah, well, to be honest, if you're in the music industry and if you're in a band to make money, I think you're a little bit silly, because there's so many other jobs you could be doing that making way more money. That's very, like, in this day and age, I think everyone's pretty aware of that.
Yeah. Now there was another factor, I imagine, in the time it took to make the album, and that was that, Sam, for you, you discovered, well, you didn't discover, you were experiencing crippling migraines, and along with that came dizziness and vertigo. So these are things that make it very hard to even walk around, let alone play music. So at what stage did that crop up for you?
Everything started in 2019 for me. So the type of migraine I get is vestibular migraine. So I had already been on medication to get rid of the actual headache part. So, and I had that type of migraine for a long time, but I would only get it every now and then. It wasn't a big deal, but it wasn't a big deal. It still was a big deal when I got them, but it wasn't, you know, changing my life. And then in 2019, one day I just had I don't know, I sat back and all of a sudden the room started spinning, and I had no idea what was happening. I'd never had vertigo before. And then it lasted a few days. I remember Simon had to Google what to do, because I was like, you know, yeah, I couldn't stand up. I thought I was going to throw up, because it makes you, you know, really nauseous and all that. And then after a really long journey, I reckon after seeing multiple doctors, because no one really knows how to diagnose it, and a lot of doctors have different opinions on it. Finally, I got in to see my neurologist, and it was like he was the first person that finally understood what I was feeling, because after that initial vertigo attack, with a vestibular migraine, you experience dizziness. Like I would be, after that initial first few days, I'd be sitting at my computer. I'm a graphic designer by day, and I'd be sitting at my computer, and all of a sudden I'd get dizzy, or all of a sudden I'd feel like I was zooming in and out of my computer screen, or like I was on a boat, and I was like, whoa. And that would happen multiple times a day for, sometimes it would last a week, and it was horrible. And then in between all that, if it got really bad, I'd have the room spinning again. So it was horrible. And then that started the trying to figure out how to fix it. And I did everything I could to try and fix it. I saw a naturopath, I saw an ear, nose and throat doctor, I saw all sorts of people. And the only thing that's actually helped is my neurologist. I did physio, that helped for a little bit, but my neurologist put me on some pretty strong medication. And yeah, I've been pretty up and down. Last year was just before we recorded the album. I saw my neurologist, and he told me he didn't think it was a good idea for us to go to Texas.
Right.
But I don't know. And I was really scared. I still have bad episodes every now and then. Poor Simon has to look after me when it happens, because there's just not much I can do. But yeah, we just kind of have had to get used to it, and have had to learn how to manage it. And learn that, you know, I've learned a lot about my body when I get, because it's really exhausting, obviously. So I'm a 34-year-old that takes naps very often. But yeah, it's been a real journey. And as I sit here today and we recorded our album and it's coming out, I'm currently still on 3 different medications just to control my vertigo, just to be able to function. So it's, yeah, it all kind of hit, and it was pretty life-changing. And unfortunately, I go and see my neurologist every 3 months, and every 3 months we kind of see if I can come off something. And about 2 years ago, I was doing pretty well, so I went down to 2 medications, and then I dipped again, and now I'm back on 3, and it's just a bit of a roller coaster. So yeah.
So the day that Sam came back from her appointment, she was like, the doctor's like, if you go and something happens, you're going to be screwed because of the medical system over there. And
Yeah. He was like, if you can avoid this trip, I would strongly advise you do not go. And I was like, you know what? I really want to go. And like, I don't know, I've always kind of had that attitude. I don't think I can swear on this, but stuff it, because what else could possibly happen? Like, we'd had the worst 6 months prior to that anyway, because I'd been so sick. So I was like, whether I'm sick here or I'm sick there, like, I'll figure it out.
And it was just like, yeah, like we said, we were just like, well, let's just go to Texas and do it. Because just as we started to like start the band, then COVID, and then we had to wait 3 years.
Yeah.
And then it was like, yeah, literally like, what else can happen? Like,
yeah.
And I think that's almost maybe more our attitude, like going into the band. It's like, we're not like, these are the songs that we wrote, and it's like, we're just not fast or phased, because we're like, far out. It's just not like, nothing has been easy. So it's like, it's okay, just do whatever. We'll take as long as we want to do things. And like,
let's just enjoy it while we can.
Yeah, it's so chill.
Yeah.
We said nothing's been easy, but the music sounds easy, if that makes sense, because there is a certain energetic flow to it.
Well, that's the easy part. Everything else is
hard.
like, that's the thing too. Like, when we recorded drums and bass, I remember the night before I had a really bad vertigo attack, and I was like, I'm not delaying this. Let's just go. And I still had to like sing guide vocals and stuff, but I was fine to sing vocals. Like, the brain is a really weird thing. So with vestibular migraine, it's all brain. I won't get into the real complex stuff of it, but vertigo can either be, basically, it can be an ear issue or it can be a brain issue. Mine is all brain.
Right.
And yeah, I can sing. I can always sing. Like, no matter how sick I am, I can kind of pull through it and sing. And they say that, like, yeah, if you can kind of retrain your brain, they say it's got to do with, you know, I don't know, all the wiring and stuff. It's like, because your brain knows this one thing is going on and you know how to do it, and it's distracted. It can, you know, it's not throwing you into circles. I don't know.
I think that's the thing with Sam though, like, because of the young age when she started like singing and playing music, I think there is something in her brain that she's like, she could literally be knocked out on the floor, but then like still sing and be, and it's not performing, but it's like Sam can still do that job. But then as soon as she finishes singing, it's like, then she's like fallen down. I think it's like an American Idol thing where the person like stutters and then they go to sing a song and they're like, damn, you sound like Whitney Houston. And then they ask them a question and then they just can't even talk. And you're like, but it's just, I think it's just how the brain works.
It's funny you say that, because a few times my neurologist put me on one medication at one time, and he was saying, oh, this, because they're pretty hectic, like, medication.
I can imagine.
And one medication was, they all have really crazy side effects, and one was that he's like, you can at times forget words, like, in your speech. It can affect your speech. And I was like, well, what is that going to do to singing? He's like, it's a completely different part of your brain. You'll be fine. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's fine then. So yeah, it's very hard to explain, but yeah, I don't know. The music for us is the easy part. It's everything else. And it's funny because we went to America, like you said, he didn't recommend it, but we went and I felt pretty good over there, and I hadn't been great for a while. And it's like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that makes it worse, like stress and staring at a computer screen for like 9 hours a day. Me being a graphic designer doesn't help. And over there, I didn't do any of that. So I wasn't stressed. I was just doing what I love every day. I was singing, which is like the greatest thing to me. And I wasn't staring at a computer. So.
And you're eating like Mexican food every day.
Yeah.
That's
Like the best combo ever.
but there's also that element of the voice coming from the ether, right? Like it's almost like you're a channel for something.
Yeah.
And so absolutely it could be a different pathway of the brain. But I do think there's a certain magic to being a singer that means that you kind of conjure it from, as I said, from the ether, from the air, who knows where it comes from.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's the answer.
I think it's the craziest instrument ever. Like your body can do that. That's insane.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, and also interesting because it takes more muscles to sing than it does to run. So from a physical point of view, it actually was quite tiring for you to do that. But clearly, it wasn't so tiring that you weren't able to do it in the moment.
Yeah. Well, I did have to I had to really behave and take care of myself when we were recording. Not to say that it was but yeah, I had to be very strict and go to bed really early and all that sort of stuff. But I've always, I'm pretty serious about singing and music. I'm super dedicated to taking care of myself if I need to be. So I did all that stuff and I was fine. So yeah.
Well, it certainly worked on the album, which is a fantastic assembly of songs. And now that I hear that you have all these other songs that are out there, I'm like, are they demos? Like, what's going on? Are you planning any shows in support of the release of the album, or does the migraine make it tricky?
It does make it tricky, but we have just announced our little tour. We're doing we're heading to New South Wales and we're also heading to South Australia. We have spaced it out so that it's not too hectic and so that we can rest in between
and work full-time jobs.
Yeah, that too. So we hope to kind of we start in Melbourne and then we head to Adelaide, then we come back and do 2 regional Victoria shows, and then we go to New South Wales. Obviously, we'd love to go everywhere else, but yeah, like I said, it's pretty spaced out. So we start in July and end in September, and then we actually play out on the weekend. So there's a lot going on for us. It's not like back-to-back weekends or anything, and part of that is because I'm trying to take care of myself and not burn out. Yeah, we're excited.
And also, Australia is a very big country, so I think it's very hard to get around to most of it.
It definitely is, yeah.
And I should also mention your rhythm section is composed of 2 people who played in a punk band. So Sam, you're slightly outnumbered here with the punk band.
I know. I listened to punk, but I never played it.
Well, the album is Hotel Texas. It is a wonderful piece of work, and it's been great to hear about it. And I'll let you go, Sam and Simon of the Smith & Weston jury. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.